Here the question is, sketch the graph of f of x is equal to minus 2x cube minus 7x squared minus 4x plus 4. My first step is to find the intercepts. So I can find my y-intercept. I can straight away write as 0 and positive 4. So I get this positive 4. This constant will be my y-intercept. Then to find the x-intercept is where I'm going to factorize. That is f of x is equal to 0. I use my calculator to find the factors or the zeros of the polynomial. So it is negative 2 x cube minus 7 x squared minus 4 x plus 4. And I skip g of x and start from negative 5 and I end at 5 with a step of 1. I got f of negative 5 as 99, f of negative 4 as 36, f of negative 3 as 7, f of negative 2 as 0. So I stop here. So I got f of negative 2 as 0. I got f of negative 2 as equal to 0. Therefore, now what I'll do now, this function now becomes, I factorize it, x plus 2 is a factor. And the second factor is a quadratic factor. The first term of the quadratic factor will be, this is now x times this quadratic number here, ax squared must give me negative 2x cubed. Therefore, what will be? It will be going to be negative 2x squared. Because when I using the FOIL method, x times negative 2x squared must give me negative 2x cubed. Then the last term is going to be 4 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 will give me 4. So it's 2 times 2 will give me 4. And then the middle term I'll write as bx. So how to find the middle term that bx is? What I do here is that I multiply here x times bx will give me bx squared. So I'll say bx squared. Then I have 2 times negative 2 will give me negative 4x squared. And negative 4x squared. Now I compare this with the original function. It is bx squared minus 4x squared will give me negative 7x. That means equal to negative 7x squared. So I can remove now. I can ignore this as x squared, and then I equate the coefficients. B minus 4 is equal to negative 7. Therefore, B I get negative 3. Therefore, my factors are x plus 2 times negative 2x squared minus 3x plus 2. So when I say f of x is equal to 0, it implies that x plus 2 times negative 2x squared negative 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. Which again further implies that x is equal to negative 2 or negative 2x squared negative 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now I can, the second factor or the second equation I can now solve by using quadratic equation or by factorization. So if I use my quadratic, what I do here is I change everything to positive, plus 3x minus 2. That is, I'm dividing every term by negative 1. Now I can solve for x. X is equal to negative 3 plus or minus square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 2 whole divided by 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. So I solve them and I get x is equal to negative 2 or x is equal to 1 over 2. So my x-intercepts are, therefore my x-intercepts are, you can see this negative 2 is repeating. You can see this negative 2 is repeating. So I'm purposefully I'm writing twice. Even if you write only once, it's also fine. But for emphasis, I am writing that roots are repeating. It would be interesting to see what will happen when the roots are repeating in the case of a cubic graph, and also in the case of a quadratic graph also we'll see. Now we found the x-intercepts. Now the second is to find the turning points. So to find turning points, what I will do is that I'll use calculus. That is, I'll find the derivative. I'll find the f prime of x. So f prime of x will give me negative 6x squared minus 14x minus 4. I assume that by this time you are now comfortable with the rules of the differentiation. Now at turning points or stationary points, this is important now. At turning points, f prime of x is equal to 0. So it's always better to write this at turning points f prime of x is equal to 0 rather than simply writing f prime of x is equal to 0. And then what else it becomes now? Negative 6x squared negative 14x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now I solve for x, so for I'll make it everything is positive. I divide by negative 2, so it give me 3x squared plus 7x plus 2 is equal to 0. I can factorize, or I can use quadratic equation to solve the quadratic formula to solve for x. I factorize, say, x plus 2 times one of the factors, 3x plus 1 is equal to 0. So these are the two factors. And then I get x is equal to negative 2, x is equal to negative 3. I'm not sure whether you find anything interesting here, is that our x-intercepts were minus 2, 0, minus 2, 0, and half 0 were our x-intercepts. So now interesting, you see them when the roots, you can see the roots negative 2, 0, negative. One of the turning points is also negative 2, 0. So that is something interesting. Now I have to find the y coordinates. That means what I'll do, f of negative 2. We already know f of negative 2 is equal to 0. So one of the turning points is negative 2, 0. Now second turning point is f of negative 1 over 3. So I can again use my calculator to find the value. That means I'll substitute in the original function. Not in the derivative. So that is something very important that we must know. Now, to find the f of negative 1 over 3, what I do here is I have the table with me already because I never use a calculator after that. Therefore, now I can, what else do is, I'll start from negative 1 over 3. That's what I'm going to do. So that I don't have to punch everything once again. I start from negative 1 over 3 and you can start with any end. Step is fine. So my first number, you can see, is 1 over 3 is 0,33 and I get 4,63. So that is my answer for that. Now we know we calculated the x-intercepts, the turning point, and the y-intercept. Now we are going to plot them. So what I will do here is 0, 4. So I have a point here 0, 4. That is my y-intercept. X-intercept is -2. Is repeating. So -2, -2. And then I have a half. Another x-intercept is half. And then the turning point is also -2, 0. So when the roots are equal, you can see that will be the turning point, one of the turning points. And then I have -1/3 somewhere here and 4, so it should be about the y-intercept. So somewhere here, that is my second turning point. So now I'm going to sketch them. I start from, as you can see, it's a negative graph. Therefore, A is negative. Start from left to top, and it drops, and it will stop. It will turn at a negative. Turning point is -2. Is both the intercept as well as the turning point. And then next turning point is here, -1/3, 4,63, and then it drops down. So this is my graph f of x. And I'll also write these points as -1/3, 4,63, and this is my 4, and this is my half. So I indicated all of my intercepts. I indicated the turning points. I indicated the y-intercept. So this is my graph of f of x.